Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and we are here to talk about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written in the 6th century BC, and it is filled with all sorts of enigmatic wisdom and information on how we can live a more reasonable life. I talk about living a reasonable life in the way that, we don't ask other things to change for us, because asking someone else or something else to change its course or to change how it is thinking about or doing something is not reasonable. The idea of being reasonable is like, hey, I have my life and I'm going to do what I'm going to do with it. Well, you have yours and you're going to do what you do with it. It's not about me telling you how to live your life, just like I don't want you to tell me how to live mine. So when we talk about living reasonably, we're really talking about just respecting other people and that they have their life too. Now, some things that I do may upset people because they want me to do things that they want to do. And some things, sometimes we get entangled into this idea that you cannot victimize me, but the only person that can victimize me is me by allowing you to do what you do. And in my life, or affect me, right? If I have expectations that, if I have expectations of any kind of you, well, that's not reasonable. It's not reasonable for me to have expectations of you, even if you agree to it, because maybe you're agreeing to it simply to manipulate me. And when we're, so we're going to be talking about we always talk about, every day, we talk about the idea of Tao and then the manifestation. And there's all of these differences between how Tao works and how the manifestation works. In the manifestation, people try and get a leg up, move ahead, have this security in their lives and all of these things. Well, those things don't actually exist. Yes, they feel like they exist and they feel like they're really important, but that's not really what's going on. So yeah, I got an email yesterday, that asked me to go over 61. I'm pulling up to see, what average, what is the idea around it, why I should look at 61 and how what I should look at from that perspective. Because, I was working at the, it's funny. Yesterday I was working with the yoga studio that I do my work through. And I was talking to someone who was crying when I was doing Reiki on her. And then, I came up to her afterwards and I was like, do you know where that was coming from? Or do you not? And she was like, yes, I know, And then I found out that she was, there was a thing in there. She was like, this stuff haunts me and I don't have control and I am, she had this expression and she was talking about certain words it was heartbreak. She doesn't really care about the guy that broke her heart, but it comes up every now and again for her that it just pops back up and she's haunted by it. And so there were these words that she used, and I dove into those and talked to her a little bit about some things. And then I said, from how you're describing this, I wouldn't be surprised if you were a preemie or if you were in an incubator or whatever when you were a child. She was like, actually, I was in an incubator when I was a child. And I was like, okay, well, you have to understand that when you get put in an incubator as a child, and if you're there for a week, that is 100% of your life. And you don't know what that child is thinking. But you can, if you were to put yourself in the shoes of that child and be like, hey, I left the womb and I was separated from everybody. And we started talking about this idea that what is your what is your frame of reference of the world? Are you looking inadvertently because of that experience? Are you constantly looking for places where you're going to be separated and afraid? And when somebody leaves you, in the terms of like a relationship or what have you, it breaks your heart, you can see that as being, you may picture that, you may look at that from the perspective of being separated from and being ostracized or being pushed to the side. It's really important to understand, like, where sometimes it's important for us to understand what are the frames of reference, what are the influences under which I'm living. Because when I know the influence under which I'm living and I can trace back my triggers, it will demystify the pain that I'm feeling. And when we can demystify the pain that I'm feeling, then I can address it and I can bring awareness to it. I don't have to be lost in pain. And that's something that I think was really, it was really beautiful to be able to explore with this person. And she was crying and she was letting it out. And she's, hopefully now she has some grounding as to how to deal with her, the pain that comes back in waves, because she understands now that it may very well be from this perspective of I'm being separated out. I'm being, it was funny. I was in her, she loves traveling because when she travels, she knows she's alone. She knows that nobody knows her. But when she's home, there's all these people that are supposed to care for her. And she has fears that those people that are going to care for her are going to punish her. They're going to put her out. And she's not going to know why they've done it. And she's not going to know when she can get out. And that is something that haunts her, like literally. And then these pains come back, these pangs of heartbreak, these pangs of pain. And I think if she can get to that place where she can recognize the source of this pain, right? And to recognize that she is investing. And she's like, but it's never happened before. And I was like, well, I would argue that it has happened before and it happens regularly. And then I would also argue that, like, there is you investing in it. So over time, you invest more and more in the frame of reference that you're living in. And as you invest in it, as you continue to invest in your own idea of how the world works, even if it's wrong, especially if it's wrong, well, then you create stronger and stronger feelings around it. And so then you're like, this is all new because it's stronger, but it's stronger because you've invested in it. So, like I said, I was asked to look over 61 by another person today. So I'm going to look over 61. I'll pick 61 for today for myself to go over. If anybody has a number they want to pick, of course, you're welcome to come up. So number 61 is entitled Being Great. And, I talk a lot about like this idea of living under the influence, and having this frame of reference of the world. And maybe this isn't the case for everybody. My guess is that everybody wants to be great. Everyone wants to be great at who they are, great in terms of their own lives, And so this starts with like being great. Like, what is it to be great? What does it be great as me? What is it? And like, I'm great and everything is great, right? Like, you're special just like everybody else. You're great just like everybody else. But what does it mean to be great? So this reads, being great requires the ability to be humble so as to receive that which is attracted with tranquility. What a beautiful line, right? Being great requires the ability to be humble so as to receive that which is attracted with tranquility. So you're going to attract a whole bunch of stuff in your life. And if you're humble, you'll attract it with tranquility. It's not going to be yours. It's not going to be, it's not going to be something you can't share. It's not going to be something you can't talk about. It's not going to be something that you have to hide. It's not going to be something that will bring you shame. Because sometimes people, like, when they earn things, even if they do earn it, they have shame, right? There's that Catholic shame, that Midwestern Catholic shame kind of thing. Like they receive something and it's like, oh, I'm not supposed to be happy about receiving things. Right. But there's this, you can receive it with tranquility without having the mixed message from your frames of reference around like what you deserve in life. So being great requires the ability to be humble, not self-effacing, right? I've talked about this a lot. Like, this isn't about us putting ourselves down saying, I don't deserve something. This is about being in the space of being truly humble. Like, if you are truly humble, you don't put yourself down. You don't try and falsify who you are and what you want. You do what you do, and you're humble in the face of it. So if you want something or want to not engage in something, you do that from a humble stance. You don't say, well, you're just doing it for a degree, and that's not being humble. You're just doing this for an outcome. You blame other people. No, you're humble in your, oh no, this is just what I want. This is just what I'm inspired to do at this moment. This has nothing to do with you or the outcome or what I want or what I don't want or what is ahead of me or what is behind me. This just has to do with me and my feelings right now. And it's really tranquil. It really doesn't have any charge one way or another. It's simply, this is what I am guided to do. This is what I feel is best for me. So being great requires the ability to be humble. So you're humble in that. You're not telling other people what to do. You're not telling people that, you're telling, you can feel the way you want to feel about this. This is what I'm here to receive. I am receiving within myself the message that I need to get at this moment. And that message is telling me to act in this certain way, do this certain thing. I'm not right, but I'm not right in terms of, in a broad sense, but I'm right for myself at this moment. This is the right thing for me to do. This is what I'm going to do. So that's what I receive. I receive the inspiration to be a certain way. And if I can do that from a space of humility, then I can attract, so then I can receive what I'm attracting, even if that's something that is difficult to receive, like for me and my diagnosis with MS, right? If I can be humble, I can receive my diagnosis of MS with tranquility. I do not have to be a victim to it. I do not have to sit around telling everybody how I wish things were different. I do not have to sit around and be a victim to the diagnosis. I can simply have the thing. And does it hurt? Yes, it can hurt. But I do not have to want it to be different because I've attracted this. And if I look at, there's that one line, respect the children and they will respect the children. If I am the victim to this, then I'm not respecting the child of my actions, and thus the generations, if we look at outcomes as generations of children from the actions I take, all of a sudden, like we quickly go down the path of having disrespectful, quote unquote, children, right? We have children that are not aligned with being, we have outcomes that are not aligned with the direction of Tao, right? We are trying to manipulate things so that they suit us in one way or another. And so we're not open to receive. We're not open to receive this outcome. Because we're not open to receive the outcome, we reject it. But that's similar to rejecting a child. What are they going to do? What is that child? How is that child going to react to being rejected? You know, what is it? If I reject the outcome of my actions, if I'm a jerk to everybody and someone becomes a jerk to me, well, why did you, why were you a jerk to me? Well, look at your actions. Look at how you have, you know, in a very simple way. If somebody merges in front of me a little close and I define that as being cut off, and then I flip them off and I speed up and I try and tailgate them, or I try and pass them and flip them off and make sure all of these things. Well, the energy so I received an action. I received an outcome. I received an experience. I decided to not be humble within that experience, but to be forceful within that experience. And I leaned into the negativity around that experience. And that's fine. That's Tao too. It's not against Tao. But if you are going to lean into that, you will get to work and you're going to be angry already. And you're going to be looking for, in your life, you're going to be looking for areas that are trying to take advantage of you, or you're going to be looking for areas in your job where people are trying to get in front of you and things like that. Now, you are focused on that. That is the outcome of your experience, right? They've done interviews with people. They give them hot coffee, give them cold coffee. Their answers to questions are different depending on the fact that if they're drinking cold beverage or a hot beverage. The idea that you wouldn't be affected by getting angry at someone when they cut you off, you wouldn't continue to be affected afterwards, is foolhardy to think that. So being great requires the ability to be humble so as to receive that which is attracted with tranquility. So if you have humility and someone cuts you off, you can receive them. And again, cutting you off is self-defined. They could merge in your lane a car length ahead of you. And yeah, that can piss you off. They can merge in your lane with just enough room for them to do it. And you can decide that that's cutting you off. And so you can be upset with that. But being great requires the ability to be humble. And I think if you were to self-examine after flipping someone off, and we would, when you calm down, I can ask you, well, do you feel like you were being great at that time? And probably, oh, no, I was being a jerk. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. But this is, right, the title of this is Being Great. Attraction is the most primal of expressions. To receive that which is attractive is to know oneself. So we're starting to see that the word attraction and attracted are the words that we're going to be focusing on in this first couple lines. Attraction is the most primal of expressions. So this is, this has all sorts of implications, because the most primal expression of what you are and who you are is in that which you attract. And because it is in that which you attract, we have to look at the idea of what is it you're attracting? Attraction is the most primal of expressions. So that which you attract is a primal expression. That which you attract is showing you about who you are. To receive that which is attractive is to know oneself. So if you're attracting, like myself, I attracted a diagnosis of MS. What is that telling me about myself? Well, my symptoms were as such, right? Like I lost motor function on one side, I lost temperature sensation on the other, and I was bedridden for a month or whatever, right? So when I attracted that, I can't be a victim to it. I attracted it. This is the most primal of expression. At the base of all that I am, this is what I attracted. What thoughts, what beliefs, what frame of reference, what in all of that may have contributed to this becoming manifest? Where did I build this? Where did I build the masculine in me to lose temperature sensation or lose sensation? And then where did I build the feminine side of me, the inability to move or to move in a labored way? Right. So then I get to do that work, right? This is showing me about myself. This is telling me who I am. This is telling me what I'm creating. This is telling me what I'm attracting. So we're going to go back to the beginning. Being great requires the ability to be humble so as to receive that which is attracted with tranquility. No matter what comes to me, no matter if I have the experience of being mugged, or if I have which I've had, whether I have the experience of, being, to winning an honor of some sort, or being fired, or being chastised, or being the recipient of a diagnosis. I want to receive that which I am attracting with tranquility. And then we've talked, like, this is 61, so we're well into the Tao at this point. And it's not like if you're reading 61, this is new for you. It's a relationship. Yeah, like your life is a relationship with Tao. Your life is a relationship with understanding. This is the most primal of expressions to attract. So that which you are attracting, and remember, you're attracting things through inspiration, you're attracting things in the manifestation, all of these things, all of these different sort of attractions are going to be coming in from all sorts of places. But if it's present in your life, you've attracted it. Like the woman I was talking to yesterday was crying during this Reiki session that I was doing. And I supported her and all of this. And then when she was done, I asked if she knew what it was from. She was like, yes, I know what it's from. Well, then we looked at it. We realized, well, you're the one attracting. You're not the victim of this feeling. You've attracted it. So you do have some control over your relationship with it because you're the one that's attracted it. Because attraction is the most primal of expressions. To receive that which is attracted is to know oneself. And we realized that, when I talked to her and realized that she was put in an incubator, separated from her family, separated from people, separated from all of these things, I was like, oh, okay, so this is how you get to know yourself. You have this feeling, and this feeling may very well, I'm not trying to say that it's 100% true, but it makes sense, right? That feeling is attached to this frame of reference that you may have created when you were a child. When you were in an incubator, when you were separated from everything and didn't know when or how you were going to get back to the world. Right? So attraction is the most primal of expressions. To receive that which is attracted is to know oneself. And that's how you get to figure out who you are. It's how you get to figure out how your brain works, how you think, because your brain goes so quick, you don't know. You can't keep track of all of the thoughts, both conscious and unconscious in your mind. You can only be aware of so many things at in so much time. That's how pickpockets work, right? They get you aware of certain things, and then as your mind is processing all of these things, they pick your pocket. Right? So if you're hyper aware of stuff, there's only so much you can be aware of, no matter how much you pat yourself on the back for knowing everything. Like, you're going to miss things. You might just be listening. You may be able to listen to my entire show and be paying close attention, but there still may be things that you miss. And due to the fact that there still may be things that you miss, means that you can't possibly take in everything. You can only take in what you're open to take in at this moment. JK, how are you?
How are you? I was just listening to you about the incubator, and it's funny because that was one of my things about being left as a kid.
Yeah.
And so when my little guy was born, and he was in an incubator, I like they don't usually let you in there, especially after a C-section. They don't want you in the NICU because they deal with little people. And if you have an issue as a big person, it's isolated and it's hard to get people in there and all that jazz. So it's interesting. So I negotiated with the nurses, and I was like, I'll do what you tell me to do as long as I can go see my baby. And so I did everything. And they wheeled me in there, and the other nurses, the NICU nurses, were not pleased that I was in there. But I sat in there, and you can't touch the baby at that stage. But the next day, after I made friends with the NICU nurses, they let me hold Eddie, and I would be very quiet, very, very quiet. And they would forget, I think I was there or something, and he would be very quiet. But it was my own issue with leaving, but I was so worried about leaving him and not being close to him. And I'd sit there and do the skin to skin with him for probably longer than I should have. But, and I was there every day and did it every single day because I was so worried about that leaving, issue with myself. So just
Right.
interesting you were talking about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's, it's a big deal. And, like, the experience that Eddie had is going to be very different than the experience that you had. And he's not going to, maybe you'll tell him, and maybe you did tell him the story of it, but there's still, this residue from his experience, that under which he's, living, in his frame of reference, but yeah, this woman that I was talking to yesterday, it's very, very possible that's a frame of reference she built when she was in an incubator and separated from that. And how long was Eddie in that situation?
5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a long time. It's a long time, not for anybody.
Yeah.
But it's a super long time for someone that is 5 weeks old.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't in the incubator for 5 weeks. But he was in the incubator for over 2 weeks, maybe close to 3. So it's a big portion of it that he was in the incubator. And now we were able to touch him, and they're actually very cognizant of it now. Like, they have different things that they put in with them, like these big hands that are filled with not beads, but whatever. Like if you would, like, how you make those sacks full of beans and then you warm them up like as a heating thing. It's that kind of thing. It's like a big hand, and it's soft, and they cuddle them up and wrap them up against them so they feel like they're being held. But it's not the same, right? It's not the same as feeling human touch.
And I think that's the thing that we miss a lot in the world is like, well, it feels the same. It looks the same. You're fooled by it, right?
Yeah, I don't think they are.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's a big, we are always in a place where where we get into this space of like, well, the manifestation proves that we're in it, but there's things underneath it, because like emanating through you, through the cells of your body, is that connection to every other cell in the universe, right? Like, and that, I'll say that, like, yes, the cells of the of the love sac or whatever that they put in with them, that has cells too that are alive. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. But if those nurses don't respect that, and if the parents don't respect that and try and connect with the love sac that is holding the baby, the hand that is filled with the beads or whatever, then there's no charge to it.
Yeah.
You have a charge, and that is that there is no mistaking that, right? You have a charge that is emanating from you and communicating with your child. And if you were to meditate on that little love sac hand, right? Whatever. I don't know why I'm calling it love sac. But if you were to focus on that, and if you were to allow yourself that space, if you were to allow yourself that the belief that you can affect how energy is passing through to your child through that thing, or just if you, you don't even need that thing to be there, right? Your child is touching air. That air is you too, right? So,
yeah.
But you would have to, you would have to get over manifestation. You would have to override the belief that this is just a sack full of beads or whatever that is worn. Yeah. Like, and you'd have to be like, no, this is an extension of me, because it is in the world that I'm experiencing. And when you can do that, right, that's when you can like charge that hand sack. That is and
because you're connecting with it,
right?
Yeah,
right.
Because you're connecting with it. That's connecting with you see the interconnectivity,
right,
between all things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the interesting though, what interested me about what you were saying is, I have no clue what Eddie's experience was and how that's going to influence him going forward.
Yeah.
But I never looked at it from the perspective of my own issues with leaving and the fact that I wasn't going to leave him. And actually with my daughter, she wasn't preemie, but absolutely nobody could leave her. When they usually take them away, they do hearing tests. And I remember telling her dad, like, no, you need to go with her because you can't leave her. And interesting hearing myself and remembering and what I remember from it. I don't know if that's exactly the way it happened, but in all these instances, my issues with leaving,
right,
projecting onto them. And I remember reading to one of the first books. I would sit in the hospital with Eddie and I would read him, Are You My Mother? And it's all about the little bird that the mother leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And are you my, and he goes around, the little baby bird goes around to everything around him saying, Are you my mother? Are you my mother? And it's just funny because now I kind of see the connection there a little bit clearer.
So, and with this 61, that I'm reading, it's so clear that like, in these first two lines, and I'm going to read them backwards, but attraction is the most primal of expressions. To receive that which is attracted is to know oneself. When you're attracting these experiences and you dismiss them because they're just experiences, you don't get to, you're not really receiving this experience. Like you're just sleepwalking through the experience of your own life.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But when you can receive that which is attracted, meaning you can receive that which you picked up. Like you picked up this book for a reason and you didn't know what the reason was. But if you could have used a moment to ask, well, why this book? And why this? And, and then
I
I'm going
did
to go
have a
back to,
lie of the book. I actually really did. Because
yeah,
I was
well,
afraid that
right.
he didn't know his mom with all the nurses. But the
And
fact that I didn't realize that that was my issue, you know?
right. But see, that's the second part, which is to receive that which is attracted, is to know oneself. When you receive that, like, inspiration to read that book, you're not learning about the world around you. You're learning about
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
When anything that you receive, you are not the victim of. It is just telling you about yourself, right? And as we go back to that first line, being great requires the ability to be humble, so as to receive what is attracted with tranquility. Now, we could argue what humility is, and we can argue that maybe you weren't humble in that state because you were trying to control the situation a little,
Wasn't. Yeah. No, I
you know,
was. You can, yeah, that's true.
but if you were able to be humble and just observe all of that, you may have been able to be like, oh, well, this has something to do with me, and not the nurses, not the rules, not the, and even in your idea that, they forgot you were there. I highly doubt that those nurses forgot you were there.
Probably not. Yeah, you're probably right.
But for you, that's what it has to be, because you have to control, right? You're like, I'm the one doing this, like, right? Like, and so there's, once again, no humility. It's like you're getting one over on these nurses. This is their job. They are responsible for the lives of these children, and they forgot you were sitting there in a wheelchair holding a baby. No, like, that is not. There's like you're like, I'm in the back corner and I'm just quiet and baby's quiet and everything, and I'm getting away with this. And it's like, okay, well, good for you. Good for you for telling that story and stuff, but you're missing out on who you are. You're
I got the other parts. Come on.
Yeah, no. All of that's really important. All of that's really important in terms of, like, the whole story, but and in your ability to get here. To get to a place where you're conscious of who you are through what you attracted. Do you have a number?
Today, I don't. I didn't intend to come and talk to you.
Oh, I don't. Oh, well.
No, I was supposed to be doing something else. That's all.
You were supposed to be doing something else.
Yeah. I thought I read something wrong. So I thought I was going to be doing something else. But I didn't think I was going to be listening. So
Oh, okay.
that's all.
Well, yeah. Is today or tomorrow? Your fast ends tomorrow?
No, it's today. It ends. But
Oh, okay.
I thought I had to do, like, some steps before I go, but I don't have to.
Okay. Well, what time is the?
I have to be there at 9:30, and then I think it's at 10:30. So
Okay.
that's all.
Well, good luck with all of that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
I know. And you'll receive what is attracted with tranquility.
I will.
Because
Maybe
you're
not
great.
at first, but eventually I'll do that. I will. I am great.
You are great. So being great does
fine.
require the ability to be humble. No, I'm glad. Well, good. And yeah, I hope everything works out well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for coming up. I'm going to continue going through 61 because we only got through 2 lines, for Christ's sake.
All right. 61's my number 2 then for today.
Okay. Sounds good.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye.
Absolutely. Love you. Have a good one. All right. So moving on. So we've really kind of covered these first 2 lines about, like, being humble. And no matter what it is you're facing, this is what you're attracting. So no matter what you're experiencing right now, you've attracted this. And so you can be the victim of it. And that is embracing the manifestation, or you can receive it as the primal expression of attraction. Okay, so now it goes into this next line, which says, all great beings realize when they err. Having realized it, they admit it and correct it to the best of their ability. The greatest beings seek out those who can identify their faults. They consider their enemy a part of themselves that requires attention. There's a little unpacking here, just a little unpacking. All great beings realize when they err. So we're talking about attracting things, right? Attracting experiences, attracting information, ultimately. We're attracting experiences that give us information that tell us about who we are. All great beings realize when they err. So when you attract something that you don't like, or when you attract something and are the victim of it, when you attract something and can't embrace it, that's an error, right? When you're the victim of something and you no longer receive, you can't receive this experience because you believe you are the victim of it. This is when that is in discord, when you're attracting things and you're the victim of it rather than rather than being at the center of it, rather than saying, oh, wait, this is me. This is my problem. This is something that I've attracted. What can I do in my life? So if you attract something and you don't like it, right? Like my attracting my diagnosis of MS. Okay, well, once I realize how I have lived my life to attract MS, that's an error. Oh, now I see. The world isn't trying to stop me from doing things. The world isn't trying to put me down. The world isn't trying to judge me. But that's how I frame the world. That's how I frame how the world is. Like if I were to talk about this woman that I talked to yesterday, the world isn't trying to separate her from everything. But she's seeing it that way. And because she's seeing it that way, she gets to know herself and start to move in a direction that is not so erroneous, that is not so harsh on herself. She gets to be herself, and she does not have to sit in that space of victimization. She doesn't have to be the victim of the actions around her. And because she doesn't have to do that, so all beings realize when they err. She realizes, oh, I made an error as a child and built a frame of reference. Now that I've realized that I built an incorrect frame of reference, I don't double down on that frame of reference and say, this is the way the world was supposed to treat me, and it didn't treat me that way. That's what a lot of people like to do, and they've been doing that for decades, right? And my parents didn't treat me the way other parents treated them, and so I've been hurt. And it's like, well, not really. You've had the experience you had. Now, when you can admit it, you correct it to the best of your ability. Does that mean you correct it completely? No. Does that mean you don't become the victim of it? No. It just means you correct it to the best of your ability at this moment. Because you're not going to make the world's worst answer. You're not going to make the world's worst reaction. And then just because you realize something's off in that reaction, then turn around and make the world's best reaction. Even for you, you're not going to do that. What's going to happen is you're going to do it to the best of your ability. As you do it to the best of your ability, you will get another opportunity to do it. And maybe you can do it at a better, maybe you can do that better. And then little by little, you evolve and you learn the lessons that need to be learned along the way. And, in Kabbalah, I think they talk about the idea of expanding the vessel, and you never miss a step. You have to take every step. You don't go jumping, you don't go from being, a person who's living transactional relationships to a person who understands deep love overnight. You don't do that. You take little steps that move you towards a destination. We don't travel from New York to California in 20 minutes. We have to travel through, 24 hours or 30 hours of driving to get from one to the other, because we need that transitional stage. We need to be able to integrate that which we've experienced. So all great beings realize when they err. So if you're great, and you are, I'll tell you that right now, you are great. Now, if you can open yourself, if you can add a little humility to that, you can receive what is attracted with tranquility. And when you receive what is attracted, you can say, oh, I don't like that I'm attracting this. Where in my life is that being attracted? What am I doing in my life that is actively attracting this thing that I don't like? That way, we kind of turn around, and then we can say, once you realize that you are doing something in your life, or you're acting a way in a certain life in your life, acting a certain way in your life, or I'm thinking about things in a certain way in my life, once you realize those are happening, then you say, oh, you know what? This is erroneous. This isn't true. This isn't real. This isn't what I'm actually experiencing. I think it's what I'm experiencing. Like I'm feeling a certain way, or I'm telling a certain story. This is what it looks like, but it's not actually what's happening. And because it's not actually what's happening, I'm going to correct it to the best of my ability. It's not telling you to do it completely. It's telling you to do it to the best of your ability at this moment. And then it says, the greatest beings seek out those that can help identify their faults. They consider their enemy a part of themselves that requires attention. This is the thing. If you have an enemy, the only reason that they're an enemy, because you are connected deep down in the root of all things, the only reason that they're an enemy is because they are exposing something within you that is in discord. They're exposing something within you that is not aligned. And they remind you of your being misaligned. And because they remind you of that, it upsets you. Well, if you receive what is attracted, if you receive this upset with tranquility, you can stroke your chin and you can say, I wonder what this is telling me about myself. This is where it's like, to receive that which is attracted is to know oneself. You attracted this frustration because of what your enemy did. Your enemy can do whatever the hell they want to do. The reason that they're your enemy is because they bring up this frustration with you, not because they're who they are. They get the ability to be who they are. To be centered in Tao is to nourish all related things. Your upset is, it's related to your enemy doing something to you that upsets you, but your upset is related to you as well. And it says to not interfere or meddle in the errors of others. To be centered in Tao is to nourish all related things, to not interfere or meddle in the errors of others. If your enemy has an error, you don't interfere with them. If they're doing something that upsets you, you don't go and tell them how they upset you. You look at yourself and you figure out why this is upsetting you. And you figure out your path forward from there.
Good morning.
Hernan, how you doing, man? Good morning, man.
How was your sleep?
My sleep? It was really good. I believe.
Yes,
yeah. I think I had some dreams. I don't recall.
Well, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But like last time I remembered a dream, it was a nightmare.
Oh.
So it was a weird one. It was with worms and
Worms.
yeah, it wasn't like a nightmare because I kind of like nature. So
Okay.
it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
I guess
I
a
remember. I
nightmare.
remember as a kid, the first time I was just like, someone told me that they had a nightmare and they enjoyed it, and I was like, well, then it wasn't a nightmare. It was
Yeah,
like,
like
well, I like
other
to be
people.
scared. Well, then that's not really scared, is it? Like,
Yeah,
maybe,
exactly,
like you
exactly.
like to get your nervous system on a high. I get that.
On a tilt. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
But question today for the to get the Tao. You guys well, it's a book, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, where can I get it?
You can get my version. Really, the only place you can get my version is my website. I don't. I'm very much just like just doing it myself. And the reason is I don't care. Like I don't like. Lots of people have written translations, but mine is on my website, which is you can find links to that in my profile on here. You can find links to both my link tree, and you can find all sorts of stuff on my link tree, and you can find it on my website under the what we do, and there's a shop. So like there's a bunch of different subcategories under what we do, and there's a shop link, and that'll take you to where you can purchase things that I have.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can I surface with 52?
52, yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm here for. Taking
Mm-hmm.
numbers. Taking numbers.
Taking numbers and shutting them down.
Yeah. So 52 is entitled Like Tao, So Too You. So this title really refers to the fact that you emulate Tao in the world. So Tao is obviously not manifest. It's not outright in the world. It's not something you can hold. It's not something you can touch. It's not something you can really even comprehend in the way that you can comprehend a bird or an engine or a house or something like that.
It's not out
So
there.
it's not something physical, right? But
Right.
Tao interacts in the world in the same way you do. So like Tao, so too you. So you have things, you have aspects of yourself and aspects of your experience of living that resemble Tao. And this is how you can have awe in all that you do and really kind of be amazed at, who you are and how you engage in the world around you. And this reads, all things issue from Tao. It is their mother. Then in their own time, they return to Tao. Like Tao, so too you act in the world of manifestation. When you recognize you are the mother of your experience, you can identify the children your actions birth. Loving them as your children, you are free from sorrow. Choose not to recognize your motherhood a victim full of desire and judgment. There is no end to your turmoil. Look into the darkness and learn how to yield. Not allowing your senses to guide you, you will find peace in every crevice.
Oh wow. That's pretty cool.
So what this is like very similar to what we were talking about in 61 and being great. It's like there's this idea that, look, your actions produce outcomes. If you don't recognize the motherhood of that outcome, if you don't recognize that it is your actions, it is the way you think about the world, it is the way you're perceiving the world that created this outcome, the way you're addressing people, the way you think about things. If you do not recognize that you are at the core of you're the common denominator. That's what a lot of people say. You're the thing if all of your relationships are shit, well, the problem isn't everybody else. If you're the reason that you can't you can't find a job, well, it's not the job's problem, right? It's like you're the common denominator. Now, if you keep having these experiences and you keep becoming, if you're the victim of all of these experiences that you're having, if you're the victim of them, well, then it's other people's problems. But if this problem keeps coming up, like this woman that I was talking to yesterday about her being in an incubator and stuff, and I was like, well, if every experience you have with loved ones winds up trying to separate you from everything that you love, is that really everybody else? Or is that how you're imagining the world? And that's what it says here, choosing to not recognize your motherhood, choosing to not recognize that you're viewing the world from a certain perspective. Then you become a victim filled with desire and judgment, desire for things to change, and judgment of other things that aren't changing, or other things and other people that are not obliging your doing whatever it is you're doing. There will be no end to your turmoil. And that's the thing. If you consistently see the world as victimizing you, you will never be free from turmoil. You will constantly find that, well, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I've been abused.
Pretty much.
What's that?
Live in pain, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Right. You're going to live in pain because you're not changing the way you think about the world, because it's not your problem, right? You're like, well, no, this is just the way, this is when people chalk up everything as like, well, this is just the way the world works. This is just the way, this is just the way it is. People do this and And it's like, well, if you believe that, then you are investing in that message. You're investing in seeing the world as something that's trying to get one over on you. And I know I did that for a long time, like I was always on the lookout for someone that was trying to hoodwink me, but so I always found it, whether it was happening or not, it was there because that's what I was looking for. And if I chose at that point, when I was still drinking, when I was out there, doing what I did, if I chose to not recognize that I'm contributing to this, then I would have been a victim of it and filled with desire and judgment, and there would have been no end to my feeling like shit and feeling like I'm the victim to the world around me.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because if I were to take any given situation into perspective, like good or bad, like I'm the only one that's there to witness it in my terms, with other people. So if things keep on happening that are bad,
you're the common denominator. You're the one. You're the one that it's happening to you.
Yeah, I gotta look within, outward.
Right. Yeah. You gotta yes, you're seeing people take advantage of you around you. But if that's, as we were looking at with 61, the greatest beings seek out those who help identify their faults. You can only identify your faults is when you see it in the world. It's like when something happens to you that is quote unquote bad, or that you don't want to happen, and you take into consideration, wait a minute, God's got my back. I'm connected to Tao. Everything's good. Nothing is dual, right? Nothing is bad. This is just a lesson for me. So how do I learn from this lesson? What are my preconceived ideas about this being good or bad? What am I expecting from this situation? What is happening to me when I'm going through this? And if you can
Bless you.
examine that, if you can look at like that which is within you that is attracting this, then you can start to recognize that you're at the core of this somewhere, And because you're at the core of it, you can start changing the way you think about it. You can start manifesting other things. And yes, you could do that through like affirmations and things like that. Those things are possible. But when you get to the root of it and realize that your belief system, your frame of reference is faulty. And when you believe that, when, you know, like when I told this woman yesterday, like, look, you were put in a box for X number of weeks and you were never able to touch your parents and all of this stuff. The belief that the world can do that to you at any given moment may be ingrained in your mind somewhere. And you might not associate with it because you don't remember that being the case, but somewhere in your body, that memory of 100% of your life, let's say a month or 5 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it was that you were in an incubator. It was ingrained. Like, I am separated. I am not. Everybody separates me. And now in your life, you are feared. You fear being separated from. You fear someone not loving you. You fear all these things. Well, when you can take responsibility for the fact that, when you can recognize your motherhood, so as a child, no one's going to blame you for believing that that's a fear. However, that is still at the root of your existence. You are now an adult if you can look back and say, hey, maybe, just maybe, I created this belief. And if I created that belief and I'm still living by it, I could understand why it's so upsetting to me to be broken up with. I can understand why it's so upsetting to me why I jumped to the conclusion that I have to be independent because I can't trust anybody in my life. You know, I can understand why that happens if I was separated for 8 weeks, and that was 100% of my life, right? Like if I was separated from everybody for 100% of my life in the first 8 weeks of my life, I would expect, like, here I am, I'm almost 50 years old. If something were to happen that I have experienced for 50 years, 100% of my life, and it all of a sudden stopped, like the sun stopped coming up, I would freak the fuck out. Because the sun has come up every day for 50 years. If it did not come up tomorrow, I would freak out and I would, not know what to do because I believed in something. And just like 100% of that 8-week-old child believed that they were separated, and that was a bad thing. And now that they're out and they're engaging with people, they may have a fear deep inside that they can be put back in that box at any moment. And when they're taken out of that incubator, they didn't do anything. They weren't told why they were removed. They didn't have that information, right? They just believed what they were observing. And it was in error, but they have to recognize it was an error first. You know, choose to not recognize your mother. Choose to not, like, you didn't put yourself in the box, but you made a belief system when that happened. And that belief system is carrying with you. Now you're an adult. And you're an adult allowing a 8-month-old child to dictate how the world is.
Yep.
And that's what this was, like, but all of these experiences are issuing from you, just like Tao. You are the creator of this experience. And that's what 52 really kind of comes down to.
Thank you very much, Martin. Again, enlightening me in so many different ways.
Oh, I'm glad. I'll send you 52 and then I'll send you a link to the book and stuff.
Thank you very much. And
Absolutely.
Have a great day and everyone feel great about themselves.
Yeah, I agree. I second that emotion. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Martin Zhao. We ran over 52 and 61 today. Both of them really kind of looking at the idea that, like, you are at the root of your experience. You're experiencing your life from this perspective. And this perspective that you're having is connected to things that you've experienced. And when we can go back and have those experiences, and we can go back and look at all of that, well, then we can understand who we are in this world. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm Martin John. If you benefit from the work that I do, please, I have on my website, I have a little coffee cup in the bottom right-hand corner, so you can buy me a coffee. You can give me a little appreciation through financial means, and I would appreciate that. Thank you, everybody who has done that. JK and Marianne and Shelley and a slew of other people. You are all so generous, and I appreciate your support. And I'm asking for that now simply because Noom Vibe is no longer kind of pushing my content out. I don't know. Maybe I just don't talk about weight loss enough. I don't know what it is, but love you guys, and I appreciate what you're doing. Once again, tomorrow I'm going to be talking about a new app that I'm going to be doing, not Tao of the Day on, but that you'll be able to interact with me. And we'll see how that's going to affect Tao of the Day here on Noom Vibe. But I'm looking forward to expanding and doing more stuff so that you can connect with me a little bit more privately and a little more personally. Thank you so much again. And anything else? No? Until next time, keep recovering yourself.